Hello and welcome to Editing with my wife, now with my clacks again. I'm the Hooded Philosopher and I'm here with Cheesy Loops. Cheesy Loops, what's this podcast about?
This is a podcast where we don't need no walls.
Oh, let's see what that means. But before we get into a problematic escape, let's talk about trauma.
Trauma!
But not in any kind of real sense, but rather the chapter of trauma.
Oh, I thought we were discussing
I could discuss endlessly about trauma. I think it's a fascinating subject. But...
Oh, I thought we were going to recap our own trauma in our lives.
You want to do that?
No, I'd rather do the chapter trauma.
Because the only thing you have to say is marrying me.
No.
Quite traumatic.
Yours is not that traumatic. You're
Right.
only like slightly traumatic.
What happened last chapter?
Tresska and the boy are gone. They were whisked away by Draelynn's ability to teleport.
Lucky for them.
And then right after that, Draelynn, gets put into a bead.
Yeah,
I wonder if you can wear Draelynn as jewelry.
maybe.
Maybe. And then Nathaniel gets a ticket, goes to the arena to do the fight to continue on the plan, even though that was
It's supposed to be Draelynn helping Nathaniel, as the Divine Arcane said.
It wasn't even plan A, B, or C. It was plan, huh?
It was like all of a sudden.
And Lola learns a lesson, and
Who's Lola?
Lola was the lady who betrayed them. Because we kind of discussed that she wasn't expecting a child, even though she's a part of the resistance. That she may be a little young.
Yeah.
In
And
the
she went to the
resistance.
school. She was trained at the school to report that kind of stuff because she was one of the children, and no children should be without their education, and she liked it. She learned a lot from it. She's helping the people of her town.
I think she's just young and confused.
Yeah. She made a mistake like we all do. Alright, so we'll go from there to a problematic escape featuring Draelynn.
Hey.
Draelynn awoke frustratingly clean of magic and restrained. A man sat opposite the table, heavily armored and shuffling paperwork. The small bead was between them. I am Marsec Officer Fring. If you are honest with your response and show no signs of resistance, then we will let you go without charges. Expect a long day then, fool. I have been tortured by the strongest of Tarkron, and I escaped them. He paused for a subtle laugh. And I will escape you, Fring. With that, he spat. The man reached into the metal box, pulled out a burning hot brand. This will mark you as untrusted, worthy of being ignored. This is the first step in your processing. Lucky for me, you are resisting. That's fine. I have friends who can hide it and even heal it, Draelynn responded. Who's Tresska? Or who? Tresska? And where is she and the child? Fring asked politely. My wishes are that they are talking to the resistance, coming to save me now, probably. He saw a little fear in the Marsec official, so he pressed. From what I understand, the rebellion is everywhere around here. Could even be a good friend. Fring scoffed. You know nothing, do you? The things I have forgotten will overfill your tiny little mind. The last 3 words spilled out of him threateningly. Rage began to build. Draelynn savored the poison. Fring spoke. I'm in a position to use that tiny little mind to crush you. He punctuated it with a stiff punch to Draelynn's face. Draelynn absorbed it, leaving his blood to trickle out of a bruise. My Lord Grollick has been searching for that woman for 25 years. I will get it from you one way or another, he emphasized, pulling out a vial of mind and downing it. After a second, the man began to probe Draelynn's mind. This was a mistake, however. When he did, a figure of the Divine Arcane threatened him menacingly. He stopped. That's a neat trick. You sound impressed. You've never seen the Divine Arcane in person? A look of terror flashed on his face briefly. A trick of magic, nothing more. The Divine Arcane does not meddle in the affairs of people, he reasoned. Fring dove once again into Draelynn's mind. This time he got in as Draelynn recalled his world, the forest where he changed from form to avoid the real horror, a race that lived on the same continent. Fring was in Draelynn's shoes, as he was stabbed and beaten without mercy, his captors looking for his friends and family. Draelynn watched it happen. A Tarkron standing next to him spoke over Fring's screaming of pain and horror that were actually his. You can take it, Draelynn. All you need to do is help. The familiar horror from his past was holding an ornate hammer. It is the source of all of Grollick's power. He flipped open the knob at the bottom, revealing an emptiness in the handle. You know because this one knows. Fring left Draelynn's mind shook. Someone came into the room. Draelynn recognized it as Flynn. She leaned close and whispered into Fring's ear, then walked back out. A smirk appeared on his face. It seems that we found them. You got them to their slip ring, but we got them before they could leave. He got up. Looks like I don't need you. He reached into the box and placed the brand on the back of Draelynn's hand. Draelynn struggled, causing the brand to hit the leather strap, weakening it, breaking him free. Draelynn grabbed the brand with his now free hand and hit Fring across the face with searing hot metal, leaving a nasty mark on his cheek. He collapsed on the floor with a solid thump. Draelynn searched Fring's body, finding a small amount of crafter's glass and some fire wine. He took them and the bead and sat in the middle of the table. Flynn walked over to the room. He was supposed to leave on his own, she said, frustrated at the body. Hurry, in a few minutes Marsec alarms will be ringing. They got up and left the room. Outside the dark room were a series of well-lit hallways. Draelynn followed closely behind Flynn. Alarms began to blare loudly. A voice came into their minds. "Officer down in interrogation room 3, it shouted in his head. They came around a corner and saw Kryn standing in the room. The walls all had hallucinatory visuals showing various parts of the building. "Guards are on their way. Take this," she said, meeting them at the door, handing Draelynn a bottle. "It's stone liquor." Draelynn smiled, gulping it down. "I'm ready," he said, handing it back. "We couldn't get out of here alone," Flynn said. "I can't wait. Let's see what you can do." The three of them ran out of the room. They were following Flynn until they encountered a horde of armed guards covering the exit. "Shit," she said as she peered around the corner. "There's like 20 of them," she whispered. Draelynn had a smile creep across his face. "That's why you have me." He put his hand on the floor, and the ceiling began to shake. The masses scattered out the entrance as the ceiling collapsed. "You blocked the exit," she stated, confused. "Get behind me. I'll make a new one for these Marsec folk." He sprinted at the wall in front of them, and the wall crashed as he approached, never actually making contact. "The first mistake is hiding in the bounty of Earth," he shouted at them as another wall crashed before them, revealing the outside. "We are free!" he shouted, slowing down, nearly running into another building. "Where to now, friends?" Kryn was huffing. "Tresska is out beside the city. They will be following us. I suggest we lose them." They were not following, so Draelynn stopped. "Lead me to them. I wish to aid them." "What about Nathaniel?" Kryn asked. "What about him?" Draelynn asked back. Flynn looked around for anyone spying on them. "He took your ticket." "And he won, yes?" Draelynn said, devoid of doubt. "Yes, but it was a narrow victory," Kryn explained. "Narrow for his opponents, no doubt." Flynn laughed uproariously. "They were lucky. If it were you, they would have been a pile of mush. He let one of them live." They got to the edge of town. Guards were crawling around the perimeter. "I don't have enough to stop them all. What else do we do?" "Do you still have the bead?" Kryn asked. He got out and handed it to her. "Flynn, do you have crafter's glass?" She shook her head. "Do you mean this?" Draelynn said. Draelynn pulled out the stuff he found on Fring's body. "Yes, they aren't looking for us yet. I think I'll throw you into the bead, then pull you out when we get across. I will accept it if it will obtain us freedom. Worst case, and we will need you to fight," Kryn added. She threw it at him. "The bead is as close to death as one can be without achieving it." He waited for them in oblivion light. "Worst case scenario!" Flynn was shouting as Draelynn reemerged. He stood a ways away from the two girls, who were kicking the assets off of the nearby Marsec offices. Draelynn joined them, sending stones all over the place. The girls caught up with him. A bead hit a fleeing Kryn, landing directly in front of Draelynn, who picked it up. Then, using the last of his stone wine in his system, he made a new cliff between them and their pursuers. Draelynn's escape was quick and simple, and the name of the new geological formation. Coming to the rebellion with the truth of the hammer, it was good intel, with the added effect of making his hostess, Tresska of Love, very proud. He took great pleasure in the added effect because she reminded him so much of his own Farah, whom he missed so dearly. He imagined that his wife in this form wouldn't look or act so different. The two boys in his life echoed his sons, his tears showing the joy with his friends, but alone the tears consumed him.
I love it. I love Draelynn's,
Eagerness.
And
just bullheaded pig stubbornness. Just bullheaded resistance to anything anyone says. Just no.
And lack of doubt.
Yeah. Just confidence. Yeah.
I'm part of Nathaniel's group, and he
Yeah.
wins.
And it's almost like a prophecy without actually saying prophecy. I haven't said prophecy. I think I say it once or twice, though. But it's more like it's a different thing, and I'll get to it when we get to it.
Like, he's not seen Nathaniel do anything. He's not seen any action other than an act of kindness.
Yeah.
And
He didn't see Nathaniel do the worst thing he never wanted to do.
Yeah. And he had no doubt in his mind whatsoever that Nathaniel had done it.
Yeah. But they're forming a new river of blood with Sloane as the source.
Oh.
All right, let's talk about what we heard from Draelynn, because he's about the only person in the chapter besides Crane and Flynn.
So with Draelynn,
And
you get
Marsec officers.
You get to kind of peek at the horrors of his own world.
Just a little bit. I mean, and that's light. That's so light compared to what the world is really like. It's such a dark and grim place. And I really hope one day people are interested in hearing it.
I wonder if... Okay, what's the Marsec officer's name?
The one in this is Fring.
Fring. Does Fring ever come back?
No.
No, he stays.
Well, let's be honest. All of this is changeable.
Yes.
If you're like, there's something wrong here, and I go, well, Fring's available. We could just bring Marsec back into this. Then yeah.
Well, could you imagine?
But they never come back to this land.
Just think about this
after
from
they're done with it. They never come back.
Fring's perspective. He just had this guy he was interrogating. He wasn't aware that this guy is from another world. And he sees the most horrible... He experiences
just horror.
This most horrible
And he was
torture.
trying to get information.
He got information.
Not the information he wanted.
Not the information he wanted. And then this dude is trapped in front of him. Sorry, I'm shifting, so I probably get funny vocals on the mic. This dude that's trapped in front of him, like, just slips his arm around just in time to burn the thing and smack him with a searing hot rod on his face.
I think a wise person would have seen the Divine Arcane and said, whoops, go away. I don't want to be a part of what you're doing.
No, but you would think what change, like, does he change sides? Does he rethink his whole idea?
That could be like, there's someone else could write that story, and that would be fascinating for me.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah. And you get a little bit more of the town before we leave, but this town isn't, it's not very big and populated. None of them really are. I mean, any war is probably like less people than a civil war in America. Not a huge war or anything. It's mostly just big battles.
But, like, I would love to see what Marsec Fling does after this whole encounter, because this is maddening. Did what he experienced actually happen to this guy? Like,
he has no clue. It seems like chaos and randomness, doesn't it? Like we were talking about earlier. It seems like there's something else going on, but we're not privy to the details, and so we don't get to know. He's like, whoa. But, I mean, we know a lot about that world.
Yes.
And, let me know in the comments if you're interested. I'll never shut up about it. It's been with me since 2016.
So, and then, okay, this dude's like, let's just tear down this wall and make a whole new way out.
It certainly worked.
Like, he doesn't necessarily think first.
He solves the problem because he knows that if the problem gets in the way, he can just solve it. That's very Draelynn, I think, yeah.
But,
that kind of comes with the territory of being a shapeshifter.
Well, and he's constantly having to think on his feet. Or on his
Constantly.
wings, or on his paws.
Hooves. Pretty much anything. Slippers.
I mean, even that.
Fishes.
He has to think about what's the right animal in that moment. And it works, too, because that's Draelynn. He has to think quickly and accurately.
A deeply important character to me.
So Draelynn can do these things where he's just not thinking about things.
And he doesn't have to care about the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick of it, I think. He's from another world. These aren't his people.
This almost is like a dream for him.
Yeah, it really is. Last time he was awake, he was going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it is just an elaborate dream his mind has made up, as far as he knows.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't. This is interconnected to other things. He is a very important character in another story.
Mm-hmm.
But you won't ever hear from him because, you'll learn.
It is funny so they put him in the bead as a way to be like,
He would
looking
stand
for him.
out. Yeah, he would stand out.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, they're
flimsy.
part of the Marsec group, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so they're like looking for him too, but
Another reason why Lucas, the other Marsec officer, probably would have ignored them. And just listened to them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know.
Scroll back up to the top.
But that probably didn't help their case at all. So they ditched the thing. So probably not. No, they're with the rebellion now, helping to fight in the fights.
There isn't a lot to this one chapter, is there?
No, it's pretty clear. I think I got Draelynn good there, but I don't know if I got Fring good there. I mean, is he a good enough character? He's just like a good cop, trying to be a good cop. Is what I feel like I'm trying to do.
No, he's just doing his job.
But the guy's like mean. He just literally spits at him right off the bat. One of the first things he does is spit at him.
Okay.
And he even says it at the beginning, how he was tortured, and then it happens in his head. He sees that torture that he refers to here at the beginning.
Yeah, there ain't nothing
and he escaped that.
Which is impressive.
And considering he has a family, that means he didn't give them away in the torture.
Mm-hmm. I'll get it from you for one minute.
On that world, there is no magical means of like infiltrating the mind.
Mm-hmm.
They were straight torturing him with pain to get the information they wanted.
And he looks at the Divine Arcane and just like, how do you look at how do you look at something like the Divine Arcane and think, oh, this is a trick?
Because it's
Has anybody
magic.
else seen the Divine Arcane?
He could have visual mushroom power, but I mean, he shouldn't have any in his system, and Marcus knows that. Or Fring knows that, but whatever. Fring's an idiot. He gets hit in the face for it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of action.
There's a bit of action, yeah.
There's a little bit right here, and then there's a lot at the end.
I would say there's a tiny bit up here and a little bit at the end.
Yeah. There's a tiny bit on both sides. There's a tiny bit of chapter, too.
And Draelynn gets a whole cliffside named after him.
They'll have more than that.
Yes, because this was just Draelynn's escape. What would you name Draelynn's mountain? Don't answer that question.
I mean, those were plains, too. He created a cliff in the plains.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy.
Okay, so cliff, to me, denotes that... Did he make a mesa, almost?
Yeah, I left that up to the imagination on purpose.
Okay.
You could see it that way, or you could see it as like he just tore a fault and relifted the other side of the fault up.
Okay. I see.
Just...
That's interesting.
So you see this all of a sudden rise and then a cliff.
Okay, scroll down a little. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to comment on.
It was a pretty clean one.
Mm-hmm.
Short, not very long. Not the shortest, though.
He was supposed to leave on his own. Well, how was that supposed to happen? How was he supposed to leave on his own?
It was like he was supposed to just say something and leave. Like, we got it. And then be done. But he decided to brand him, and that was his own undoing. Because that has helped Draelynn escape. But if they hadn't, also, they wouldn't have had the crafter's glass to put him in the bead.
Yeah.
So... I mean, it's all important. He's just such a defiant character. Mostly because he can be in this world. What are they going to do?
Right.
He has no intention of, like, ruling the world either. This is all a vision.
That's why you have me. You blocked the exit.
I also like what he says about Nathaniel. Narrow for his opponents, no doubt.
Oh, and then Flint. So Kryn seems like she is, what am I looking for here?
Mousy, quiet, reserved.
Yeah, she is reserved, but her
intelligent.
It was a narrow victory. Right. And then he says narrow for his opponents, no doubt. And then Flynn is like, oh my gosh, this guy's insane and I love it.
She just kind of goes with him.
It would have been a pile of mush.
I mean, she's felt it.
Yes.
He caused an intense feeling of sadness inside of her. Which, if you notice, must have been what he did to Nathaniel at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have any control over any other emotions.
Yeah.
So what he did in the beginning was made him feel sad. Instead of nothing.
Which can help.
It's how you get through the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Nathaniel would be out of it as easily if it wasn't for that push back into reality.
And anything else would have felt off.
Disingenuous.
Because if it was joy...
The reality is that when they do this magic, and you'll learn in the future, the way it works is it helps you recall the memories that make you feel that way. Didn't really need to do that for Nathaniel, did he? It's also fresh in his mind. And it's worse than you know. It's worse than you know. And you know a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's worse than you know. I mean, it's dark for Nathaniel.
Question could we ask? Oh,
that's a good question.
You know what? It's a good question we can ask.
What's the question we should ask? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. No, what does Marsek Fring do after this whole event?
Yeah, let's ask. So let's just put a little bit more context in that he works as a security officer for the market. So he just like there's a group of people who use their powers to help. Mm-hmm. And he's one of them. So he's not necessarily a bad guy, but I mean the way Draelynn was treating him here would irritate a lot of people.
Yeah.
He wasn't being very nice. That's what made it so funny. It's so fun. We are free. But yeah. What would happen? What would have happened? What in your mind? What happened to Fring after he woke up in Marsek security? And keep in mind, it's just like a normal kind of government security building.
Yeah. Like
a police station or something like that.
He walks out the door, and he looks, and the normal exit is blocked off. And he looks towards the wall, and there's a whole brand new exit. And then with the knowledge of that torture, does he become good? Does he become worse? He saw horrible, horrible torture. He can become a good person, or he can use that horrible, horrible torture and just use it to his advantage to torture more people.
Yeah, he's like learned how to do it from the most awful people.
So I mean, that's one of two ways.
So the question is, what happened to Fring in your mind? I love that question. So with that question in the air, we will go to recap.
Recap.
Bum bum bum.
Fring looks stupid. Draelynn gets some intel. Flynn kicks assets. Draelynn
Does a lot.
Draelynn escapes. Through Draelynn's escape.
capital because it's a proper noun. All right, that was fun. Nice, easy, short one. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
I think it gets it.